Hey there. So, Carissa's starting a 100-day solid food vacation, doing her juice feast to try and reset her system and get some mucoid plaque out and get her body set. So, we just really wanted to make sure to capture where her mind's at as it's starting and see where it goes from there. So, we'll kind of check back in and do some updates as it goes along, and we'll probably try and do a separate, more in-depth history and background of why I'm helping her with this and how she's found herself here. But for this one, we really wanted to make sure that just see what's on her mind and what it's like as you start when you're fresh and you don't really know what to expect or what's going on, really, because you can't really. It's pretty paradigm shifting. So remembering where you were at is tough, nearly impossible, really. So we're trying to get that set and see how that goes. So we're a little late already. She's a good, this is day 3, right? 4. So we're on the 4th day now. So sadly we won't get the totally fresh mind or the little bit of anxiety at the beginning and all that stuff because, I'm sure she can tell you the shift even just from that first day to the second or especially the third. You're just in a different world each time. So yeah, can you kind of describe maybe where, what you were thinking, what it was like the couple days leading up or preparing for this and kind of that first day,
Yeah, so I had been pretty sick to my stomach for I had had digestion issues for 3 months, and I was having to clear everything out almost twice a day because the cramps were so bad. So I was in a pretty bad place to start out with. And then it just got to a point where if I considered juice feasting and it'll mess with my blood sugar, I'll be cranky, I'll be hungry, it might be hard to concentrate. And I was like, I'm already miserable all the time. I'm already cranky all the time. So what is it exactly that I'm avoiding? So that's where I started out with it can't get really worse than this.
Yeah.
The food I was eating, I was choking down, especially the last bites, I would just have to push it away. I couldn't eat what I was eating, and I just wanted to stop eating. I sat in front of Garrett visiting with the family, and every time everybody would pause, I'd just look at him and go, I don't want to eat food anymore. Save me, please. I can't do this anymore. So the idea of a solid food vacation sounded fantastic. I just couldn't get stuff out of my body quick enough before cramps and just utter mind-numbing discomfort set in. So my body was really out of whack. And I was actually pretty excited to get rid of all the meat and stuff in my house. I was pretty excited to clear things out and put in fresh produce. I'd missed all of those things. So that was good. And I'm definitely a unique case because I've helped you with juicing so much. So it's not like it was completely foreign to me. I know what it looks like to fill a big bowl full of stuff that you're going to put through the juicer and to strain and, do the nut milk bags and all of that process. So it wasn't super foreign to me. I knew what I had juiced for him, and I've done juicing. I've done raw vegan. I have experience in those realms. So again, it wasn't I knew that I like green juices a lot, which most people don't. I knew that I didn't want to mess up my blood sugar by drinking orange juice first thing in the morning. I stick to green juices, and then as I get hungry throughout the day, I drink more sugary juices, which was my plan. I am getting kind of to the point where I can see why people just put it all together, because at this point my body's just juice is juice, let's just get in some calories more consistently. But I think I needed to start from a 0 carb diet to the juice. I think I needed to start with warming my body up to the sugar each day for a while. So yeah, it was, I had a few things going on. My eyes were getting dry and twitchy. I would feel my eye being weird, and then I would try to roll it or something, and my eyes would both freak out. And I knew something was weird going on with that.
Before the first day?
Before the first day, for the past month or so, maybe a couple of weeks. And so that has pretty much gone away. In the evening, it'll kind of come back a little bit, but it was all the time. It was getting to me but right before I started, it was pretty much any time I could try to show somebody, and just everything would go crazy. I was also getting a lot of sores in my mouth all the time, and that's not happening, but something else is happening instead.
Right.
I think it's coming out. It's the first thing, happening.
Right, yeah.
And what else? One thing that I've noticed is that, and it kind of makes sense because I was eating all meat, and like fruit and vegetables, like they're what's being produced right now. So like berries just went in and out of season, and avocados just went out. Like those are the foods that I should have been eating. I've been not able to tolerate the heat and the humidity of summer at all. And then as soon as I switched, like literally day one, I had a last minute invite from you guys to go fruit picking, and it was so hot and humid, and everybody else in the family besides like Garrett and I like just sat in the shade like being miserable.
Within
but
minutes, they had to tap out.
yeah, it
really,
was hot and uncomfortable, but I didn't mind it, which is weird because I had been like unable to tolerate heat. And so all of a sudden, like I'm cold in my house all the time. And sometimes it's like because I'm not eating, like sometimes it's like because I'm hungry and some part of my body thinks it's starving, and so I'm not producing energy. I know what that feels like, when you're fasting or whatever. But in general, the temperature, I've been keeping my house at 70, and that's still like midday. My house couldn't keep up and keep the house cooler. And now it's too cold for me,
Wow.
It's like my body's like, oh, I'm eating fresh, I'm getting this input that it's summer. And so I should expect heat. And it's like, I suddenly adapted to heat because I'm not like clogging my system up with meat, I guess. It isn't necessarily clogging because it goes through pretty fast, but, just giving my body very different signals. And I can feel like a mental, like I can feel, it was like my mind was stuck in a winter state because I was surviving off of meat, if that makes sense. And now I feel more of like this summer of my energy feeling of like, there's this bounty, available and stuff that I was feeling so bogged down eating only meat. Like,
gotcha, yeah.
And I mean, it's restrictive, right? Like the diet that I was doing was only meat.
Yeah.
So
it was
to
incredibly. She was really going for something. She found one lady who was particularly addressing migraines and that sort of thing, which is part of why the idea of trying to fast and all that sounds like a nightmare, because if she's going to have to go through detoxing whatever's giving her migraines, she's going to be dealing with migraines, and that's not interesting to her. Your whole life shuts down.
And being in school full time, and
she doesn't have any time or energy to take off.
I can't relax and just take it easy through those things. I've got a toddler who wants my attention all the time. So those were like big transitions.
Yeah, well, sure. And the body temperature regulation, I definitely have gone through a ton with that. Just with when I was younger, I could really, I was the only one who, it's cold at the beach house or whatever, and I was the only one that would be like, what are you guys doing? Let's go in the water. Come on. Like, oh, it's cold. Like, yeah, but it's fun. Like, we got to go, and I'd be pretty much the only one in there, and like, just so upset that nobody would come join me to go play and everything. But then as I got older, like I have got to a point where like I just can't tolerate the cold, and then I've conditioned myself to be able to do the, with the sauna and everything. But it's really only been after doing this now for 3 or 4 years. I kind of juice feast periodically, and I'm on full raw at this point. I was trying to do cold showers, and it's a nightmare. It was really miserable trying to do it, and doing more and more of it was probably helping something, but it wasn't making it feel any better. But sure enough, it's been now continuing on along this. It's now probably the last 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months, that now I can actually tolerate it. It doesn't feel like a nightmare to do the cold showers. It just feels like an exercise. It feels like something to do. And so I imagine it might have something to do too, just with body temperature regulation and all that sort of thing. Being able to come online. That's cool. And so that first day, you weren't dealing with too much anxiety, about trying to do a fast, not having solid food to shove through you.
Right,
and all that.
Not really. And I mean, doing like enemas to clear things out so your body isn't going like, I can't move things through, put something in so I can push things through like that. I know that from a long time ago. Like I know that that's going to happen. My body is going to feel discomfort and hunger, but it's actually like craving packing something in so that it can push things out. So being able to like let things out so that my body can continue to move things out, like I knew that would be key, and it has been. Whenever I'm uncomfortable, I know that, I was already having to do it 2 times a day because of how bad it was, and I'm not having those horrific cramps at all, but I do have like a lot of the same discomfort of my body just not being able to move things through. And even, like I said before, I was, eating meat, and I was eating, but it still wasn't able to like, I can't even say I was constipated. Like I just didn't even have an opportunity. I was in pain, like excruciating pain all the time. So I just moved things through. I couldn't cope. And I mean, when that would wear off, like when the pain would wear off, then I didn't need to. And I would forget about it like for a day or two or whatever, and things would go back to normal, and then it would be like really bad cramps again. So.
Yeah.
Because I know that sounds concerning. Like,
Right.
I'm genuinely, like, I've been having to use that, like, you know, at times for a long time, and I know that it's like when needed, and then it just is out of my mind, and I don't even think about it. It's not like I don't know, I feel like it could be like a neurotic addiction or something.
Oh yeah. You can get dependent.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, exactly. And that's not like I would always have phases of like a week or so where it just wasn't even a thing that I thought of or needed. But I can tell that, like, you know, at some point it'll slow down because there's nothing in there, and I don't need to do that anymore. But so far, you know, day 4. So.
So any difficulties during the first couple days, or you know, that have shifted at all? And
I think that other people would have a harder time with it than I had, because I've had, like I said, I've had experiences with this, and I've been for 6 months on an extremely strict diet. So all I've been able to eat is the meat that I prepare for myself, and which means that I can't take a bite of that.
You're used
or
to telling
have
yourself
some of
no.
that. Yeah, so my body would be like, oh, that looks really good. They're having pizza. Maybe I can have pizza. And I would know that program and go, that sounds like you're hungry, you know? So like, here's your meat. And I'd be like, okay, well, I guess this tastes pretty good. And then of course it'd be like, this doesn't taste good anymore. I'd be like, then you're not hungry anymore. You know, like, so I'm pretty good at already knowing, like, my body saying food looks good means I need, you know, I just need more calories. And so I put in more calories, and then it forgets about it and I move on.
Yeah.
So I think I've had an easier time with that. I'm also very comfortable with hunger. Like, for a long time, I've felt like I don't mind discomfort, I guess, which is really cool with the Michael Smith videos. Like, that's kind of one of his key things, is like, get comfortable with discomfort, you know? Like, so feeling the discomfort of hunger, like, I check in and say, I mean, you're not supposed to be hungry. Like, you're supposed to be drinking juice all the time, right? So you've got to get in that amount. So also, like, I knew to prepare that, and I think some of that comes from observing you and you talking about, like, you can't make up those calories and those kinds of things. And I understand that concept. I quite a few years ago had to stop what I was doing and realize that I have to make sure I meet a minimum calorie limit, because my body at times will just stop telling me when I'm hungry. And I see women do this especially all the time, of thinking that's some sort of like success. They're like, oh, I'm not hungry, so I'm eating fewer calories, so I'll lose weight. But in fact, you're messing things up, and you're going to binge, and you're going to eat horrible food. So I know to, like, have food ready and prepared the moment that I feel hunger, eat, and not play around with that. And so I know, like, the first thing I wanted to know when I was planning this is, like, how much minimum do I need to get in every day? So I, like, calculated out how many apples that was, how many carrots that was, and then the green juice to me is just like extra calories on top of that. And I aim for, like, between 1,500 to 2,000, but 1,500 is my, you know, minimum. And so every morning I juice that amount, and I have it in my mason jars, like, vacuum sealed in my fridge, and I know that that's what I'm going throughout the day, and I continuously drink, and I see how much I have left, and, like, kind of keep in my mind, keep thinking, well, I've got about 4 hours until bedtime, so, you know, these last 2 mason jars or whatever. And so I know that if I'm feeling hunger, if food is looking particularly, like, appetizing to me, usually in the evening, it's unavoidable so far. But I know that it just means, like, I need to drink more.
Behind on
I'm probably
calories,
getting behind. So I know to stay. I also know that my blood sugar relies on constant input, because that's what I'm doing. It's just like, I'm supplying constant sugar for my brain to work. So I need to keep supplying constant sugar. So it's not like, people have asked, you know, do you do, like, a smoothie for breakfast, or, you know, juice for breakfast and juice for lunch and juice for dinner? And it's not like that. It's like an IV that you're just, like, constantly getting this drip of sugar into your body. And I need that all the way through until bedtime, and, like, right before I go to sleep. I make sure that I have, like, a last. And what I've been doing actually is taking a little mason jar with little plastic ice cubes. I need an alternative to that, but keeping it by my bed, so that when I, like, last night was the first time I woke up with anxiety, and I get that it's not like anxiety, it's like what they call a panic attack, like the legit, like, I think that I'm dying, but it's more like I would like to die. Like, this is not tolerable. I don't like this feeling. The world is a really awful place. It's a terrible feeling, but I know that it's low blood sugar. So last night was the first time I woke up in the middle of the night and, like, needed that. And it was like a 4 out of 10. The time that it was a 10 out of 10, I was like, all right, I don't know how long I can stand this, but, like, I see why people off themselves. Like, I could not possibly want to survive life if I felt like this. Like, no way. So like 4 out of 10, it was manageable, and I just drank a little bit of my juice, and it actually went away pretty quickly, because usually it takes about 2 hours. Like, it wakes me up with so much adrenaline and anxiety that it takes 2 hours, even if I, and often I don't realize that that's what it is. But luckily it just took me like, I took a couple sips of my juice and it went away pretty quickly. But that was the first time, and I'm kind of terrified that it's going to keep happening or get worse or whatever. Because that's, to me, that's one of the absolute worst things that, like, side effects that I could experience. But I mean, I'm sure I won't feel this way in it if it's happening, but like 90 days, you know, like, you know, like it's not like this is the rest of my life. Like, this is finite. And, you know, and I don't imagine, even if I have a period of time where it's really bad and I'm waking up and I'm having problems getting sleep and stuff, I don't believe, like, in my intuition doesn't say that, like, that's how it's going to be for the rest of juicing. Like, I think I'll adapt, you know, like, I think it might be a phase that I have to go through, and having that perspective, I think, will help carry me through it, you know, and like, and that's how I feel about a lot of the things that I might, you know, like, I've got this viral thing. So the first day, by the end of the day, I had a trigeminal neuralgia flare up. So the trigeminal nerve comes down from your brain and innervates the entire side of your face. And so you have 2 different ones. So if one is affected, it messes up the nerve that's going to branch out. It's like the trunk of the tree. It's going to branch out, and then everything, all sensation is going to be pretty excruciatingly painful. So it feels like the worst things that can happen to your face. Like, if you touch your face, it feels like you've got rug burn, and like your nerves are raw. And if you touch brush your teeth, it feels like all of your gums are going to be bleeding and like sore. And you feel like you have an ear infection. If you touch your ear, it's like excruciating. If you brush your hair, it just feels like you've got this horrible sunburn. It's excruciating. It's a suicide disease. Like, people will kill themselves because there's no treatment for it. There's no escape from it. And it'll be like shocks too that go through, and like the wind blowing on your face is excruciating, like everything. And you'll like touch your face and be like, you know, like, don't, and then you want to touch it to see what's wrong, and you're like, no, stop, you know, don't touch it. It's horrible. But it started, and I know what it is. So it's the nerve. It's like the trunk of the tree. And then it came down, and it was like, then this part didn't really hurt, but like my ear a little bit and my mouth hurt. And so like day 2 was like this area. And then day 3 was like my gums were swollen on this side, especially on the upper part. And then now day 4, there's like raw, like it looks like I burnt the roof of my mouth, but only on the right side. And pain is literally from like here to here. So it's like, obviously that nerve, it's not, but it's not like, I mean, I don't want to drink the lemon juice that I drank, you know, the other mornings. I didn't drink that because obviously I can see it's raw flesh, you know, like it's sores now. So I don't want to put acid on it, obviously, but I don't have any like delusion that the acid in the juice or whatever caused it, or that it's like somehow like the sugar in the juice is causing rotting it, because it came from, you know, traveled down through the nerve. So it could be like shingles or, you know, some other virus. I assume it's a viral thing, but it's a problem that I've had persistently. And like I said, I've had sores in my mouth, like some kind of viral sores for the past few months. So I'm hoping that it's just my body being like, oh, now that we're like, have more energy, like let's clear this out and get it out. And it's like traveling out and getting rid of it. So that's what I'm hoping. But I do see it as just like a thing my body is going through, and I'm not thinking my whole mouth is going to rot out and like, you know, or I need to see a dentist, or
that you're causing it right now, and you're going to keep feeding into you know,
exactly. I knew it was something inside of me that's like coming out to say hello, and my body naturally is going to fix those things, because that's what the body does if you're not continually holding it back from being able to fix itself.
Keeping it busy. It's been a while since I was looking at the exact number or whatever, but from last I recall, it's like some like 40 or 50% of the energy your body's using every day is going into your intestines. It's going into doing your digestion all day long. And heavy breakfast, heavy lunch, heavy dinner, and your body is just churning away the entire time. And that stops you from being able to deal with all of these illnesses we've been developing, all these toxicities that which has become a buzzword that is, that's a, you know, an insane, holistic, fake, you know, word that people use. But especially even the last like couple of years, I've been finding that's really that's kind of been a smear campaign apparently, because the real shift in understanding health and moving the right direction is this shift from germ theory versus terrain theory, going from germ theory where you're doing battle with the germs that are around you and that are inside you and whatever else that you picked up some germ and now it's taking over your body and it's trying to kill you, that germs are showing up or they're able to take hold because the terrain is weak.
Yeah, they're opportunistic.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
people who are, and they're there cleaning up. They're your custodians. They're saying, oh, there's toxic dead material
Yeah.
here. I'm going to get rid of it for you. And they poop out other toxic stuff, and it gives you symptoms and that sort of thing. But the problem is that you were leaving waste around in your systems. Whichever area is really having a problem, that's where you in particular are building up
Yeah.
toxic loads. And the other aspect of that you're talking about with having symptoms come up, that's really one of the earlier ways that I discovered for how to tell that you're on the right track, is you start getting scared away from doing the right thing, because it will start bringing up symptoms and issues that you've had in the past. And it's really, you want to notice those inconsistencies where it's like, you could have easily been like, oh, the drinking this juice is burning my mouth and it's hurting me.
Right.
But it's like, wait. It's only half of my mouth
Yeah.
though, so that doesn't quite line up. And, you'll end up having, initially you'll have some of your more recent symptoms will be coming up, and it can be easy to be like, oh, clearly this thing I'm doing is just causing, these problems and it's making me worse. But then you'll start getting to stages where, for me, it was back pain would start coming back, or knee pain, or things that I hadn't dealt with for years. That, essentially my lower back had just locked itself up and put tons of extra tissue around, so it just never really moved and never had to do anything. But then by the time I had gotten, many, many days into juice feasting consecutively and otherwise, and being on raw food versus this other dense food that keeps your body busy, that I would start having back pain come up. And every time it's like, oh no, I'm doing something wrong. What am I doing? I need to stop, doing what I'm doing. Or, oh, this is an excuse to start eating pizza again, or, start doing whatever other things I used to do, because clearly what I'm doing isn't working. But if you pay enough attention, you'll notice that, like, wait, I didn't have any of these back problems for all this time. I'm not really even doing anything different right now, other than my body's continuing to clean up. And you'll be able to watch just about exactly as your body traces back all of these old symptoms and these old issues that you've had when you were younger and younger and younger, that instead of your body being able to deal with it, your body figured out that giving you these symptoms and turning on the check engine light wasn't doing the job. It wasn't getting you to fix the problem. You were still just making the problem worse. So then it stops giving you the symptom. And that's not a positive thing. It just then is putting concrete wherever that thing is and just saying, okay, well, we'll just never deal with this.
Right.
And so this process of healing yourself and detoxing is, it will feel like you're suddenly back to some old issues that you've had, but it'll last a week. It'll last a couple weeks, and over time, or a couple days, whatever it is. And then your body will actually manage to bring those things out and get rid of them. Just recently that there was just another stage of my lower back stuff coming back. And it's like, oh, I already revisited these and got rid of it, but it's happening again. And it feels even worse, but it's because it's getting closer to the base. And finally, that density around my back, even after all this time, after hundreds of days of juice feasting and raw and everything, I finally reached a stage where it actually was dealing with straight down to the core of that. And then all of that loosened up and went away. And I realized I was peeing out stuff that was very, very toxic. And sure enough, within a course of about 3-4 days, about a week, I could watch as my lower back started loosening up and letting go, where it never has. I can't recall a time ever in my life, surely probably like 10 years old and under, since then, it's just been dense there. And I just thought that's how backs are shaped,
Right.
and just now finding like, no, now finally it's just spine, some muscle, and then,
Right.
just free moving tissue. And that's a huge part of being able
Right.
to not take these things as a sign that, oh, I need to turn around, reverse course,
Yeah.
but okay, I need to keep plodding along, and keep moving at whatever pace that I can.
Yeah, it reminds me of when you're working on like emotional work, because the first signal that you get that you're going the right direction is a big wrong way sign.
Yeah,
You're
wow,
like talking to
exactly.
somebody and they're like, bring up something or whatever, and all of a sudden you're like, don't go there, we don't talk about that,
Yeah.
and that's your body, your brain, protecting you from it. You're dissociating from it, but you actually have to get in there and deal with it, to integrate it, to move on, and to not have the negative things that come with hiding from it. But it's originally your body's mechanism when you can't you don't have the capacity to fix it or to handle it when you're young or whatever, or when you're retracing old pathways from when you're young, your body just keeps storing it and saying, well, maybe we'll open that later, like we don't do that right now, we can't handle it. So you get these big, like, don't look there, don't go there signs.
Yeah.
I've learned that, like, when the biggest ones, that's when I have to go see my therapist and be like, okay, we're gonna go this way because there's all these one way signs, like, don't go this way. So I don't know what's over there and I'm terrified to look, but like, that's where we're gonna go.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing.
Right.
Your body and your brain, your body and your, psyche are doing the same thing, saying, don't go there. This is, well, it's not, I think it's just how we interpret it, right? Like, it's not necessarily them saying, like, don't, like, because, like, if I cut my arm and I touch it and I get the pain signal, like, you can interpret that two ways, right? If it's the first time you touch your arm and go, what is that? Like, it's saying pay attention, right? But then after that, then you get, don't touch it because it's healing and all of that. But if it's getting more infected and you're touching it and getting a signal that it hurts, like, again, pay attention. Like, this needs help, that needs your attention. So it's, you've got to learn to,
definitely don't want to be careless,
right,
but you don't want to misinterpret the sign.
And you've got to learn to be those subtle cues. Like, we've learned, like, touching it, oh yeah, that's my cut, like, it's under a Band-Aid and it's fine, versus like, oh, it's hot and it really hurts and my whole arm is starting to ache and my shoulder, like, that means you need to, like, get in there and, like, get it treated and, seek some help for it, versus the other kind of pain that's like, oh yeah, that's a thing that's healing. You have to be able to tell the difference between those things. And I think that's, like, a key thing that I had to learn with emotional stuff, and with physical stuff as well. So this feels like this is healing. My intuition combined with the sensation is, this hurts because it's coming out and it's healing and we're dealing with it, versus like, this is a horrible thing that's happening to the body because you're doing a horrible thing to the body and it needs your attention, just a different kind of signal. But it's pretty subtle sometimes, the way that it feels.
Yeah, and it'll all depend on what each person's individual types of issues and symptoms are. Wherever your body's been decidedly having to store the toxic material that you weren't going to get rid of, that it's stored it in one organ or another organ, or in different ways. So you may have acne that starts coming up that you haven't dealt with since whenever. I didn't deal with too much of that, but I certainly did deal with some of that. But yeah, we all end up with our own flavor of detox symptoms that come up. For me, I don't end up with anxiety, trying to sleep and that sort of thing, but I get what gets most difficult for me during juice feasting, which I don't find is a shared symptom for everybody at all, but is not being able to sleep. That it's like slowly over time, I know that I'm doing better because the disorders and diseases that I have that doctors would just tell me, oh, that's just, you're just, you grow some tumors in random places, but that's your genetics and, whatever it is. Like, well, if I start doing the right thing, those actually start getting eaten away and they go away. And I've got them, embedded in my muscles, and it's a problem. And I should be dealing with these things, but you have to be able to go that other direction and get it to clean up, basically. And that I end up with essentially, the not being able to sleep. And it's like I'm watching as I'm doing the right thing, because, even specifically these things that aren't supposed to be able to heal are healing, but then I'm being punished at the same time because I can't sleep. And that's the ultimate nightmare. Like, when you can't sleep, it's just like, this isn't worth, nothing is worth it. I can't do anything. I don't want to do anything. Like, it's a nightmare, but that's surely whatever way that I'm toxified, that's how it's coming out, is I'm having to revisit not being able to sleep. And I guess it's most obvious because if during that moment when I'm not able to sleep, if I go up and just binge and eat whatever I want for an hour or something, I can go sleep like a rock and just like pass out. But that's, putting a Band-Aid on a wound that you're needing to deal with, that you're needing to actually approach and cope with. So
but I think it's also important to point out that like imagine a therapist is sitting with you and you're talking about something, and then you start to get to like some root issue that's like really awful, and those signs that are saying like wrong way, don't go there, and they can see that you are like losing control, like the reason why you do that with a therapist is because when they see that, they know how to like help you like ground yourself and pull
keep
out
it at a nice pace.
Exactly. And so it's really important that like we're not at all advocating like no matter what your body goes through, listen to all the people who are like, keep going, don't ever give up. Like, you have to listen to your body. It's your intuition. And I think the camera just fell asleep.
Did it? Oh jeez. Did you get a new battery for it, or?
There wasn't one, no.
Oh yeah, darn. It might limit to 10 minutes. I think those cameras do that.
Okay.
So what were you saying just before then, before we turned it back?
Your body is your intuition.
Right. Sorry, I guess the DSLRs like to cut off at 10 minutes. So, but
yeah, so it's your body and your intuition, and like I was saying, like it's really important to have intuition connected to those signals. If you're touching something and you're thinking that's pain and that's like I'm headed in the right direction, and honestly evaluate this in the morning, like evaluate this when you feel fresh and like your body has reset and you feel okay, and then know that like in the evening your brain is probably going to go more towards like I don't know if I can do this, but if you're touching, if you're getting a signal from your body that's saying this is absolutely not okay, don't ignore that. Like it's okay to not be there, to not be ready, to acknowledge that you're going too fast for what your body can handle, and you can take a break and whatever that means to you, reintroduce, or I mean you binge like it's
yeah, that's a big part of
yeah,
it.
You've got to detach from that outcome of like being perfect or never making a mistake or never needing to jump off the train if it's moving too fast.
If you're shooting for 30 days and then instead your first juice feast was 10 days, that's still incredible. Jump off at 10 days if you have to, and as part of that specifically, you want to make sure that you do the breaking the feast properly. So jump off when you've still got a day or two left in you to slowly walk yourself back into
I think it's just, and properly. This is like such a key thing just in being a human, but you have to like listen to your internal guidance. Like you have to listen to your intuition, and you have to know what your intuition sounds like. Like I know that my intuition at night sounds like a whiny, incompetent, like like totally, like I know when bedtime is rolling around, like I'm just babysitting the part of me that's like like okay, let's get to bed, like drink a little more juice, do what you want, a little honey, like when your kids are melting down, like sometimes it helps to kind of dissociate like that, like have the parent, like be the parent and see that whiny part of you as like you're tired, you're hungry, nothing is gonna feel good right now, like when you wake up in the morning, I know that you're gonna be cheery and excited for the juicing day, so that's definitely something to keep in mind as well, but you have to listen to your intuition and know that
definitely,
and whether or not the signals you're getting from your body are there is actually something really wrong, or it's wrong because it's been wrong and I'm seeing it, it's uncomfortable, being okay to sit in discomfort, figuring out how to be okay with that. And that's a huge exercise that's life altering, and you need to do.
Technically with juice feasting you should probably be fine and it should be all right, but exactly that, one easy analogy to make is the reason that John Rose and others recommend juice feasting as opposed to fasting is for the fact that we're in a different place than we ever have been historically. Historically, fasting is the healing modality. That is, your body is the only thing that's ever healed you of anything. No pharmaceutical, no chemical or pill that your doctor's ever given you has actually healed that organ. It only ever turns off a signal or shifts one thing or another in one direction, and then your body is still doing the healing. And ultimately fasting is the way of getting things out of the way so that your body can heal you. But then in the past that's been okay to essentially say, look, just cut off everything, just fast, just water fast, and you'll get there, you'll actually heal up whatever it is. But now we're in a state after the chemical revolution and the industrial revolution where we are bombarded with so many chemicals and processed foods and all of these things that were not a part of human history at all. Like they weren't as sick in the ways that we're sick. So now technically people it should have been the safest, fasting should be the safest healing modality on top of being the only one. But now you actually can have your body be bringing out all this toxic stuff so fast that you can maybe overwhelm yourself. But that's why juice feasting helps, that you get all of the vitamins and minerals that help mobilize.
Yay. Okay.
Anyway, we're trying to wrap up. We're combine the two of us and we'll literally never stop talking. But anyway, the camera's overheating and all that. But so trying to explain way too many things all at once. Why is the camera overheating? It's because we're talking too much, right? No, it's in the sun. It's not our fault. Anyway, but yeah, just that fasting, you know, can even be too much nowadays, and so it's kind of the same concept. You know, if you're finding yourself completely overwhelmed, you could even maybe have your mental health overwhelmed because you feel like you're suffering too much because you're detoxing too much.
Yeah,
and
you carry that like
you're
emotions that you repressed in your childhood, your worst traumas, you carry that in your body, and it is not like crazy to think that as you're opening stuff up, as you're releasing injuries that you're holding in your body, all of that stuff can come out, and you're going to feel haunted by like old memories. You need to integrate those. You can contact me if you want to talk about that more, because I would like to help you, because don't do that alone. You know, I didn't like feeling like I had no idea how to do that, and it's like my dharma to help make sure people have some idea how to do that. Yeah. Because it's not cool to try to be lost in that realm.
Yeah, she can help you with the emotional stuff, and I can help you with the physical stuff. So if you're dealing with your food and trying to figure that out, I can point you in the right direction. She can do the same on the other side if you do have questions. But and the way that I think about it that helps a lot, that really kind of solidifies that idea, is I've ended up now with a diet where I've done so many juice feasts, and then I've moved to raw for 3 years now, and I've gotten to where like now I'm juicing in the morning, and then smoothies in the afternoon, and then melons, you know, after that, and then a giant salad, and I'm finding that I can pretty much be in like a full detox, almost like a juice feast while doing that. It's just not quite as high speed. So it's kind of crystallized this idea of an acceleration pedal on your detox and on your healing yourself. So it's like if I'm starting to really suffer and have a problem and I can't, you know, go do things because, you know, my intestines are starting to push things around and it's too much and I need to get things done or different things, I can go eat some almond crackers basically that night, or, you know, whatever it is, like you can, or have a extra helping of salad rather than more melon, or, you know, something like that have some more dense foods. But that's kind of the idea, that we've all got so far to go. We are so incredibly ill. If that's not becoming obvious to you nowadays, I don't know what will make it obvious to you. Everybody is sick. No matter how pretty a celebrity or whatever it is, they just got out of a kidney surgery, or, you know, anything. Everybody is suffering, and it doesn't have to be like that. It's not just this blanket, oh, genetics, and oh, well, their parents had, you know, whatever. You are turning your genetics on and off based on your lifestyle and the things that you're doing. But so we all have so much healing that we need to do, and in that process of doing that, you're going to get exhausted no matter how intense of a person you are. We're kind of peak intensity people, and so when I've been doing it, it's been like, all right, all in, and I'm going to go as fast as possible, and I'm going to get it done. And it's been years now of me doing that, and I've had to figure out how to pump the brakes at times and be like, okay, this is a long haul thing. And so now I'm getting to where I can actually just control the acceleration pedal, and I can just be in a permanent state of just getting better every few days, every week. I can see a symptom or two starting to move and shift. And if it starts going too fast, I can, you know, slow it down. And if it starts, you know, stagnating and I feel like I'm not making progress, even with all this work I'm putting in, I can speed it up and go more towards juices and that sort of thing. So it really is this acceleration pedal. You want to be in tune with your intuition telling you if you're going too fast, or if you're going too slow. If you feel like you're going insane because it's not going fast enough, or if you feel like you're hurting yourself, you're probably right. And so figure out how to adjust that speed.
You're the only one that really knows that. And if you feel like I need to ask a professional, you know, like it's not, you know, if your mom is on your case because you're losing too much weight or, you know, whatever, that's different. And you need to tune in with you and figure out what's right. And another thing to point out is, like, I don't know if you've noticed by his story, failure everywhere, failing all the time, juice feasts that start and stop, and eating almond crackers when he doesn't think that he should, and all of that. That's how we learn. So, like, set your goals, aim for the moon, you know, land in the stars, get back up and try again, and know that every time you have an experience and it ends in what you consider to be failure, you're literally just being human. Nobody has ever been better than that, and that is how you learn. You don't learn by being perfect. You don't learn by researching enough beforehand so that you nail it the first time. That's not how you learn.
And specifically, the more you're upset with yourself and you beat up on yourself, the less you process about it. Like, you really do have to be okay with, when I was going, you know, taking the steps into vegetarian for 4 years and then eventually vegan for 3 years, all along that way, I only have been able to continue this journey and get better and better all along the way and more refined because I'd done so much of the woo-woo spiritual stuff and Eckhart Tolle sort of thing to be okay with when I'd fail, and knowing that if I could tell I'm about to spin out, I'd lean into the curve. I'd figure out how to go with it and be okay with what's going to happen. And I would literally, a few years into vegetarianism, it still would be like, we'll be at restaurants and I can, it's so restricted on what I can eat and whatever else. And then that next day, for whatever reason, I would know that I'm going to break and I'm going to do something, and I would go eat like 3 fast food meals at once and then go get donuts afterwards and whatever else. Not vegetarian at all, kind of thing. But being okay with those movements and knowing that that's going to happen, and then just being able to lean into it, that made it so that I could process then how I felt while I was doing that to myself.
Yeah,
and that's then how I could make the better decisions the next time. And so that's a huge...
I feel like a bad example, like I am going from, an all meat diet and being very unhealthy in ways to, deciding to do this for 100 days, and then if I succeed, then it looks like I just made a decision and I did it. Isn't that the ideal, what willpower and stuff, but I have so much experience learning from him, and helping him juice and all of that. I've watched him come up, angry at us for cooking because it's so hard, that he's smelling the cooking. And I've watched him, go through so many things. We've watched him get extremely thin and worried about him. We've watched him fight all of us, along the ways, thinking that what he's doing isn't the right direction and all of that stuff. I've watched him go through so much. And then I haven't made these videos, but if you've been following my journey, I've been through vegetarian, vegan, all of those things. I did raw vegan when I was in California. 2 different times I tried that. I think I got 3 months both times before my system shut down. One was because I had to get a bunch of vaccinations for becoming an EMT, and then getting really, really sick, and so I couldn't maintain that diet. And I've been through so many things, somewhat recently, I did Trim Healthy Mama. I did Beachbody. One of the most impactful things was doing the 21-day fix, because that gave me containers and told me you have to eat these foods. You have to fill up this container this many times of each thing, protein and vegetables and all of that. And I could not eat that much food. And I thought that was some good thing about me, that I couldn't eat very much food. And I healed so much just feeding my body enough. And I learned so much about myself. Everything that I've gone through are steps along that way. I've recently been getting out of groups for Weight Watchers. I was, dabbling in that and learning that so I could help support mom. I've done Whole30, 2 solid rounds, and failed 5 rounds. I've done countless things. I have done water fasting. I have done juice fasting. I've done lemonade fasting. I think I was in my early teens, 14 or something, doing the cabbage soup feast, or cabbage soup fast with my mom. Did you ever participate in those with her?
I think so.
When we did the cabbage soup fast? We were kids, kids. We started doing this shit as children, these things. We've always been unhealthy, and we've always been knowing that quality of life should be better. Yeah, and so we've always been fighting. Our parents were always health conscious, but the information that they had was very corrupt, and society was still trying to figure that stuff out, which burnt them out entirely on giving a shit. Both of them are I don't care what they say is right now. I listened to all of the back and forth for so long, I don't want to play anymore.
Therefore it's all wrong, and it all doesn't matter. I
don't want to learn anymore. But it's funny, after all those years of them guiding us and all of that, now it's us helping steer them towards healthier foods and making the changes, and them following along our lead, parents and children.
Being able to actually find the through line of what actually is true, because there's false leads and false information everywhere. It really does take just that time and effort and experience to be able to navigate it, because otherwise it's impossible. You can't know enough. You can't just have all of the data and just have gotten it from the right places and cross-correlate. You have to have the experience, essentially. I haven't found anybody that just figured it out and knows better. Otherwise, everybody would be listening to them and everybody would be healthy. And it's not that way. You really have to just experience it and do the work.
And anything that you try to take in, even listening to this video, you're only going to be able to grasp information that's immediately available to your current state of knowledge. So if your foundation of knowledge that you've built up is here, this information, but if you watch this video back in 3 years, you could see so much more information that we've given you about being a person, about how to make decisions, about healing your body, about the diet and what we actually said to do and you thought we actually meant something else. Like, infinite amount of information you can get from any source, and you can only pick up stuff that's like just right outside. I like seeing it as like we want to be able to jump from 0 to 10, but we can only jump a +1. So when you're trying to take in information or make a big change, if like for me, even though it seems extreme meat to juice feasting, like I said, I've fasted and feasted, I've fasted and done raw vegan and all of that like multiple times in my life. So this to me is my new like +1. Maybe it's a +2 if I go all the way to 92, you know, but it doesn't start that way, right? It starts as a +1 if I'm like, so far I've fasted for, you know, feasted for 4 days. But by the time I get to 92, 93 days, it'll probably be a +10 upgrade. But that'll be over 3 months.
Later. Yeah. Right.
You don't get to just like start a new workout routine and like get to be the healthy, you know, buff person that you wanted to be. You'll always look back on your progress, which is why we make these videos and all of that. The person that I'm going to be in 3 months if I accomplish this is going to be very different. I cannot imagine what that's going to be like, and I will not remember really what this is like.
You won't be able to remember what your perspective is like. Yeah. So it's worthwhile to be able to take the time to document this stuff. And now at this point, we're basically sitting here lecturing you about stuff and what you should do. But really the goal was at least like just imprinting where we're at and where our minds are at right now, just so that as a point of reference, so we can go back and know, you know, better understand our own journey to get more out of it, you know, to be able to better understand.
And so that people can learn along with us. I mean, somebody just telling you all of these things is one thing, but actually watching someone evolve is how you like really learned through them. Things that you're not learning because you're not going through it, but you can learn vicariously through other people. So we have both learned and gained so much by witnessing other people who have provided such content, who've created videos and done things and ebooks and all of that. Like, we are always benefiting off of other people. You know, the people who show up on Facebook and have inspired me and become part of how I like changed my entire life. Like, I strive every day to be myself on there so that people can have that opportunity as well, and I can like give back and be part of that like evolution. So
well, and those people that have been, you know, these shooting stars that have stood out and been able to be, you know, landmarks for us and everything, it's not because they were the most medically educated and they have all the academic notations and resources. Some of them have way more of that type of background than others, but it's always that they were wrong a million times, and they've taken this whole journey and they figured this out. So
being open,
that's what we're trying to do. We're definitely not trying to say that we have all the answers, and we're definitely also not trying to say we're just making this up and we're just trying to, you know, whatever. We've been testing it face first this entire time, and so we've been finding a path, and we're only bothering to share about it because we have found marked progress, like just absolute, and it's the only way that I'm still doing what I'm doing, because I absolutely know at least what progress that I've made, and that it's unprecedented. Most any doctor that I've ever talked to would say trying to do what I'm doing is stupid and that I'm going to hurt myself, and like, okay, and like, oh no, but I have these other symptoms that are coming up. I am hurting myself. Oh, wait. But this other symptom that's been plaguing me for like the last 4 years, and I went to the doctor 3 or 4 times, and they all just give me drugs to turn it off, and they tell me that nothing will ever cure it. Well, that's disappeared completely. The fact that, you know, now my lower back or my ankle's starting to hurt, and oh wait, no, that's from 20 years ago though. Okay, so it's like, oh, so there's a climb that's happening, and like we are genuinely way healthier. I'm way healthier than I was a couple months ago, a couple years ago, and beyond. And so is she, you know, even through the stumbling the entire time and making it up as we go, you know, and just trying to correlate as much data as we can, that it is still a forward progress that we're able to find. Otherwise, I would not put this effort into what I'm doing. It takes effort.
Yeah, it's not easy and fun.
And the whole environment is telling you, oh, you're stupid and you're doing it wrong. And like, it would be so easy to just be like, okay, you're right. I'll just do what you guys are doing.
I'll take that slice of cake. I'll start again tomorrow. Easy.
No, you're right. People are stupid who just avoid gluten and everything.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to eat bread again.
Yeah.
I would love, but I've experienced it so many times, and I'm correlating, and I'm technically still open to, if someone has answers, someone has more information than me, I will experiment with it, and then I'll deal with whatever consequences, I'll be in a new place.
If it feels right to you, if your intuition says this is actually like a knowledge that I would like to have, and something that I'd like to try. I'd like to know that I could eat bread, so let's try it, and then nope, now I know I can't, even if that was the case or whatever.
I'm 11, probably almost 12 years now without habitual meat of any sort of thing. I'm still completely open when the carnivore stuff started going off and everything, and everyone's abandoning the vegan ship for carnivore, and they're all just going to eat meat all day and everything. I'm open to it. Technically, I'm open to it, but all these other guys were doing it right in front of me and everything's like, okay, well, let them experiment with it. I don't necessarily need to ruin my track record or ruin, what I'm currently doing or whatever. I'll see what they're doing and see if I can see what's going on. And like, I still haven't found information to say that it would actually improve my life. Right. And I've certainly had times that I'm so far away from meat. Okay, well, I'll try just adding, a piece. I'll try having a couple eggs for a couple days or, whatever it is. If my body's that desperate for that at that point, I should have some sort of, feedback from that. And I find that that's not the case. I find that that's not actually. So it's really just all about being able to keep moving forward. And at this point, we have a lot of information to share, and just to be able to try and contribute like we've found has helped us so much from many of these other people who have come before us and done the same.
Right.
That we feel we owe so much credit to, and completely separate people, really. Like we've been both.
Yeah.
We're so close when we were younger, but then like our dispositions are opposite. Like so we approach everything from the exact opposite end. So I never really had to go through a full carnivore thing or anything, and like so I've been now doing this vegan thing just progressively and all this stuff, and then she's been going the exact opposite. But then we come back and we find what combines and what actually resonates in the middle eventually. So. Really having both of us here and correlating is probably a better sign than almost anything else for other people that there's maybe something here, to what we're finding, because the idea that we're doing somewhat of the similar thing and all that, we have experience from very deep experience from opposite ends. Right. So we're finding things that are resonating in the middle. So it's worth taking note of and just adding to what you're figuring
We've talked about, like, we're not, like, I don't know, extremists or stuff, like, and although I think we both agree that, like, Walmart cheap beef or bacon is, like, I don't think anybody should be eating that. I also don't think anybody should be drinking cigarettes or drinking cigarettes.
Definitely not.
Don't drink your cigarettes. No, I don't know why you would do that.
Well, smoking's bad, cigarettes. So I just drink them now.
Probably still not good. Smoking cigarettes, like, some things are just plain toxic, and even though that's something that people need, there are people who can't afford, higher quality foods, like those kinds of things. Are, most people who eat ramen repeatedly know that eating cheap ramen is, you get what you pay for, like it's not really good for your body. But we do feel like, there's a local farm here that you can go out and see the cows grazing, and, there's all the animals there that are living healthy lives, and they're, treated in a humane way, in a natural way. They're naturally grazing and all of that. And like having, we do believe that, like, hunter-gatherers that were out there, like, hunting animals, and they had their, grazing, their, what am I trying to say? Gathering, they're picking berries and eating fruit and things that they can find, or they're creating gardens and eating things that they can grow, but they also do eat the animals that they're raising on their farm, not the hunter-gatherers, obviously, but, or they're hunting and they're bringing home, and, like, healthy meat like that on occasion, as often as you can kill it, but you can't just slaughter everything on your farm so that you can eat meat 3 times a day, because you wouldn't, they stop producing things for you. Like, if you eat all your chickens, you don't get eggs, and if you eat all your animals, then you run out of animals. So
but we can live in this world where you can literally pick up enough chicken from Walmart to eat it every single day and eat eggs for breakfast.
But that chicken is not what you would be raising on your farm with love and eating bugs and all of that. It's like they're raised in nasty environments, and I don't need to go into that, but
which, mind you, I've found I haven't needed that at this point. I feel like there are at least arguments for not doing that, but then I've definitely found I've stopped harassing people about meat at all. Like, I just don't really end up bringing it up, other than maybe the quality of meat sort of thing, that it's raw and local. The less processed and the more local your food is, those things are way more important than meat or no meat.
Right.
Like, so if you are getting it from a local farm or, or whatever else, and again, you're going to be paying more because it's harder to produce it at that
Right.
level. And so you're just going to be moving the right direction from those things. And then you're not playing this game that they're setting up for us. You're not going to war with the carnivores or with the, you're not trying to nitpick and harass these poor people that are just having meat, once a day or, or whatever. They're making so much worse mistakes in other ways for their health than otherwise. I guess vegans tend to, they're mainly leaning on the humanitarian angle and all that other stuff. But, but again, it's like if they're, they like to be absolutists about it and everything, but even if you're talking about the treatment of animals and everything, oh no, but even the local farm's not that much better, something. It is better than the mass-produced, awful slaughterhouses
that you see going by.
Oh my gosh,
we've got a
it's
chicken
so
plant
awful.
here. There's always like red flashing lights. We'll give you $15,000 or $1,500 if you just stay for a month. Like if you just come work here and you don't leave, and within a month we'll give you a huge bonus. Like please, we can't get anyone to work here. It's so nasty and
awful.
toxic and terrible.
And we wonder why it's so prevalent for them to just be kicking and punching the animos and gouging them with stuff and being
Not
brutal
a happy
and
place to be
but
for
it's
anybody.
different than if you're dealing with way less animals and on a so it is just very important to be able to exit the nonsense that we're being fed of like we have to go to war with everybody about all these different things when really all that matters is if someone's paying that much more attention to which kind of meat they're eating, they're starting to move forward. They're making more progress. They're being more conscientious about their food.
Right.
That is progress. That is
and they should get the feedback from their
positive
body
thing.
that they feel better and all of that. But that's what it is about. Like I was doing the all meat thing. I did it for 6 months. I was getting results doing blood prick tests with blood glucose and blood ketones, and I was watching my insulin resistance resolve and watching my blood be able to handle just a consistent, like literally nothing but meat 4 times a day, and my blood sugar was still all over the place. And so watching that calm down and feeling it inside of myself, my body being able to learn to like dump glucose when it needed to. I wasn't in ketosis. I was not eating enough fat. I was staying under the fat limits to eat ketosis, to get into ketosis, and watching my ketones as well, so I wasn't getting into ketosis. And watching the times that my blood sugar was like, 90 or whatever, and my ketones were going up and up, and I was hungry because my body wasn't accessing the sugar in my blood. And it was trying to start to figure out how to like feed me otherwise, to keep me going otherwise. But I did see improvements in that, and it just got to a point where, number one, I was sick all the time. And I had felt better at first because it was eliminating a lot of things that my body couldn't digest, but eventually even just the meat that I was eating, my body couldn't digest that anymore either, which is why I didn't want to ever eat food again. Please don't make me eat food anymore. But I followed my intuition and my gut, and I did that, and I even stuck with it, those last 3 months because I was seeing results, and I was waiting to do the next test, and I was seeing that it was working for my body. And then I reached a point where it was like, oh, it looks really great. There's just this one little thing, but overall, like, you're pretty much there. And I realized that like I could keep pushing myself and staying with it, even though my body was starting to scream like, please don't. But the benefit was so incremental at that point. And so moving to this, like I said, I was already miserable all the time. So there wasn't anything I was losing.
Plus, it's so difficult to break from that. I mean, the people on the carnivore diets, it's a nightmare once you start adding fiber back in.
Yeah,
like,
so where was I going to go from there?
From
and before I started the
fiber.
carnivore diet, I was already having those problems where I couldn't digest meat, vegetables or things. So I was already there, and like even when I felt better eating only meat, it wasn't giving me a chance to heal to a point where I felt like if I started to eat other things that I would be able to get better. I wasn't even able to eat the meat. So, and like digest it in a peaceful way.
Yeah, that's what I end up seeing from the carnivore crowd and everything. It's like they're right, and I understand that they're alleviating symptoms that they've never been able to get rid of, and they feel so much better and all these things. And then suddenly they're proselytizing it, and this is the way, and everything's better, and I'm healing. But what I end up seeing from every single one, I've never seen an exception. They're not healing, though. It's like you're making it so those symptoms aren't there anymore because your messed up intestines don't have, I guess, fiber dragging through it and everything else. But you're actually so much not healing that you're making it so you're more sensitive then to the things that can help scrub your intestines and help, move this fiber through and everything that they really end up suffering. Jordan Peterson had the example of like, I mean, it was unbelievable. Just when he was doing that to alleviate his depression and different issues
Yeah,
that
I
he
had a lot of problems with depression.
and he had I can't remember what it was, but he had like one avocado or something at some point and he then locked himself in his room and laid on his bed for over a month, that he just, with the lights out, and just could not move, could not do anything.
From the
because
avocado, not from the withdrawal?
No, it wasn't from the drugs. It wasn't from any, depression meds or whatever he was dealing with. It was from eating like one meal that he added in some vegetable fibers. This was months into doing carnivore or whatever, and he was like, I want to at least start trying to push the other direction a little bit. And like he completely shut his life down from trying to add a little bit in, which again, that's like the most extreme, but that's what I've seen every single time. Every single, person has some level of dealing with that, but
Also just dropping that he was going through withdrawals. It was like benzodiazepine or something that they gave him for, he was...
But that wasn't, no,
I
this
know,
was
no,
before
I just
all that.
feel like-
This is before that stuff. But he's got his own issues and all that, but...
literally just from trying to treat depression, which with this, that's what like I said, I felt like I was just stuck in an eternal winter, which is a depression of the,
environment.
it's a depression of the environment. Everything kind of goes dormant,
Right.
and you're kind of in a cocoon state, and then spring comes and like everything
Right.
starts to open back up. And I felt that way for sure, and I started to feel like, because my cycle, when my estrogen is high, I usually experience more highs, and when my estrogen dips low, I experience more lows. And even my highs were pretty low, and then comparatively, and then my lows were getting like lower, like each time I was like, well, that was a bad one, so like my next cycle probably won't be that bad. And then it was just as bad or worse for those last few. Actually, I mean, I've never been able to tolerate getting rid of carbs without having like the keto flu
Really?
prolonged forever.
Really?
When I tried to do that before, and I had support from someone who was like, no, this is how it goes, and you go through that, and you just have to push through it and stuff. It reached a point where it was not going away, and I was such a miserable human being to be around. And he was like, okay, like, go ahead. You need to eat carbs. Like, I don't like this anymore. Like, it's not working. You're not pushing through anything. Like, and it just turned out to be that way. Like, I just didn't adapt. My body, I think that it's different for males than females. I think that if your body is, I think that we're just built a little differently. And I don't think that it's as easy. Obviously, everybody's different, but I don't think it's as easy or as healthy on a spectrum as often for females to do things that like intermittent fasting and stuff. It definitely works for some women, but the same thing like bodybuilding, it's way more prevalent that men bulk up and want to be bodybuilders. It's kind of like surprising when a woman does that and she's successful at it, and I feel the same way when I see a woman who's like really successful with intermittent fasting, or really successful, well, that's a little more common, but really successful with like I guess keto. I do see women, but it's usually older women that I see, like postmenopausal women, that finally can lose some weight doing keto.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely very different having a body that's designed to bear maximal estrogen versus a body that's, designed to have more testosterone. But trying to switch those roles doesn't play out well for you. Like, you ultimately will
More
will kind of
frequently, it
suffer.
doesn't.
Yeah.
There are anomalies in anything, and there are definitely some women that it works for, but I think on average, studies have shown that it does not work as well for women.
Anyway, we're getting way deeper than on anything that we were planning to, but this was at least us. And I'm needing to get to some lunch.
And the sun is creeping in. It's like
true, yeah.
gonna hit us in a minute.
Trying to push us out, but we should do this more often, if just to help ourselves, help each of us with our inability to be concise and and to the point with things that we do, because both of us kind of suffer from that. If we were opposite somebody else who had a different disposition, we'd probably have cut this off 30 minutes ago.
And I hate podcasts.
better,
I don't really like listening to people
I know,
just like
me too.
chat
I can't
about
do it.
crap.
I can't
But
do
that's
it.
the left brain, right brain, like as
Right.
well. Like we both crave, like when I want information, I want it to be very like linear and organized. But
then when we
but most
deliver
people,
it, we do it all right brain.
But
apparently.
but a lot of like fan base and stuff that you get is because people enjoy
Being
listening
around
to
you,
you chat and hang out and enjoy your mind and all of that. So listening to two people chat in a way that you jive with, it also hits that like social center. Like you start to
Right.
feel like you're hanging out with
You
your
got
friends during
friends,
that time. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, you can't please everybody, right?
Yeah, no.
We'll
No,
also
but
try to do.
even if we were extending it, we probably still could have cut off like 20 minutes
Yes.
ago. Meaning, but anyway, we're not unaware of that. Well,
Yeah.
we apologize.
It could have been more linear.
But cool. We hope that it was at least helpful, and you guys got some idea of what it's like just starting the juice feast and everything, and then all of the download that comes with it too. The histories that play into that, and
You want to tell them about our little disagreement when we got started?
no, but what do you mean?
How long you thought this would take?
Oh yeah.
He was like,
It's not that I didn't predict it.
no. He was like, I was like, the camera's gonna lose. It's only got half a battery, and he's like, this is only gonna take like 2 or 3 minutes, and I was like, huh?
It should only take 2 or 3 minutes.
What?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry. Have you ever heard me explain anything? I don't take 2 or 3 minutes on my own to explain the simplest thing. I don't know how that would happen.
And I always do the same thing. It's like, well, there's clearly tangential information that is needed for the context. You know, oh, well, hold on. Let me go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I just blow everybody
You
out
just need
every
to be
time I
aware
try
that
to
your
share
brain
stuff.
lies to you about how long
Oh, yeah.
time. It's called being time blind. You should look into that.
Right, yeah. I'm just so aware of my thing. I've gotten good at being able to cut myself off, you know, at some point. And not good. Not good.
That's okay. I mean, we can definitely create videos where we have like a script. Like you just have to plan it out, and we know like what we're gonna cover, and we stick to it. And like
I hate
short.
playing off the scripts though. I don't like watching people run off scripts either.
Well, do you want one or the other?
Yeah, no. There is a nice middle ground that we can get to, but anyway.
I think you got to practice with scripts though.
Yeah. And we've got an extra tangent on top of it. But anyway, cool. Hopefully you guys got something out of it, and let us know if there's whatever else you want us to rail on about for 4 hours straight, because we'll do it. We'll do it. It's not even that I like hearing myself talk. It's just there's a really important point that needs to be made, and there's much information that should go with it. You know, so.
Well, that's what we were talking about. I mean, you can't just provide somebody with information and expect that they can just like jump there.
Right.
You have to like address all of their concerns and the things that they're gonna say and worry about.
Some people somehow pull it off, but we haven't figured. We'll figure it out. But maybe we're just good for the podcast people.
Maybe in our 60s.
We're just good. Yeah, we're just good at helping the podcast people. Maybe after we've juice feasted another 500 days, then we'll finally be calm enough that we can just actually stay on one point and be like, okay, so here's what you need to know, and yay, that was fun, and here's a couple jokes, and then okay, done. You know, like. But anyway,
3 minutes, man.
Bye bye. This was like 2 minutes, right? Like 4 minutes. We almost did it. I don't even want to look at the time, how long this has taken.
I think we're like 30 or so.
Oh god, this has to be at least like 45, 50.
Well, it was probably 15 minutes on that.
15?
It was 11:51 with the first one, and then he
Really?
cut off pretty quick with the second one.
Yeah.
It did feel like forever, but
It really felt like we're going on like an hour 15 would have been my like just random gut guess. Like
you are time blind, man. I will send you a video, a TikTok video. I actually downloaded it because I posted it to Facebook, but where she talks about time blindness, and she says, you know, how do you help somebody with time blindness? And it's like